Welcome to the Los Angeles Coliseum for today's contest between two of the most successful franchises in pro football history, the Dallas Cowboys and the Los Angeles Raiders. And good afternoon, everyone. I'm James Brown. Well, excitement is running high here in Los Angeles as the largest NFL crowd this season is on hand to watch the high-flying Cowboys and the vastly improved Los Angeles Raiders. My partner is the ex-LA Rams head coach, John Robinson. And John, today's contest really ought to be a showcase between two squads with contrasting styles.
One's a boxer, the other a puncher. Of course, Dallas is the boxer. The Raiders are the puncher. If the Raiders are going to come out and win this game, they've got to physically dominate and intimidate the Dallas Cowboys, particularly in the defensive line where they must penetrate and get to Emmitt Smith while he's still in the backfield.
Dallas head coach Jimmy Johnson has really been driving home the point about how important the middle stretch of the schedule, this game specifically, is to them. They historically have had problems with this time.
And this would be a big win for Dallas on the road against a physical team. As we said, Dallas is the boxer type of team. They love to play in rhythm with finesse. They've got a lot of weapons. Emmitt Smith is kind of like their jab. Michael Irvin is the knockout punch. And look today for wide receiver Alvin Harper to be the counter punch.
Typical Southern California afternoon here. In a word, scrumptious. And for those who could not make it into the stadium, well, the surf's up. The Raiders have won the coin toss and will receive Lynn Elliott to kick off for the Dallas Cowboys. And back for the LA Raiders, Napoleon McCallum, and Alexander Wright, the ex-Cowboy. And he is dangerous. He returned two kickoffs for touchdowns when he was with the Cowboys. And we're underway. An excited crowd from the 3. It's McCallum. And McCallum hit hard at about the 16-yard line. Leading the horde of tacklers was Tony Hill. Todd Marinovich back at the helm for the Raiders. Suffered a strained left knee last week. Said he's fine and he's ready to roll him. And he's got a big, strong offensive line in front of him.
And this group has to block well today. They've not gotten off to a good start this year, partially because of injury, but they must block physically well today.
The running game here in L.A. basically by committee.
And it's a great committee. Dickerson and Allen, that's a real committee there.
First and 10 for the Raiders. Tim Brown in motion. And Marinovich throws it wide. The intended receiver was Steve Smith. And it will be an impressive defense led by Charles Haley. Only one sack, but 23 quarterback pressure, so he's doing a job, and others are getting the credit.
They'll shift a lot in the defensive line. Charles Haley has had a big impact.
Linebacking core, not a lot of big names, but effective.
And very fast and very smart. Robert Jones, the young middle linebacker, is going to be a real great player at some point.
And the secondary, Brown and Holt, the corners. Ray Horton and Thomas Everett, the safeties. Second and 10. Marinovich back to pass again. Drills it complete for the first down to Tim Brown, who's driven out of bounds by Isaac Holt. And, John, you were talking before about the accuracy in the short game of Todd Marinovich.
Get a look here at Tim Brown. Look at the cushion that Isaac Holt gives him. He thinks he's going deep. Tim Brown just turns out Todd Marinovich, who, as you say, James, is an accurate passer, puts the ball on the money with timing passes. Todd Marinovich is a timing passer. The Raiders are going more to that kind of pass.
15th catch of the season for Tim Brown. First and 10 Raiders from the 29. On the ground, Dickerson. And Dickerson on the draw, getting all the way up to the 35. A gain of 6 by Eric Dickerson, finally tackled by Robert Jones. Washington, not a touchdown in that game. 5 field goals by Chip Lowmiller, and they squeak one past the Minnesota Vikings. So take a look at Eric Dickerson. And, John, you got a chance to chat with him, and quite honestly, I guess there was a bit of a strained relationship in the past few years, but you guys did talk.
Yeah, it was great to talk to him. He's excited about this year. He hasn't gotten going yet this year. He's only played about half of each game. He's anxious to get a game where he can get 20, 25 carries.
On second and 4 on the ground, this is Steve Smith, and Smith has the first down.
Well, we talked about the Raider offensive line needed to improve and come off with a vengeance today, and boy, they sure are. They knocked the Dallas defensive front back about 4 yards that time.
And again, going back to a note we made at the top, running game by committee here in Los Angeles. A lot of those guys would love to be the featured back, but they're getting the job done.
Well, they've both been the featured back and both been all-pro players. Now they have to share the job, and, you know, they're both getting up there in age, so maybe it's not a bad thing.
Out of the pro set, 1st and 10, ball at the 40. Marinovich, the pass on 1st down, going up top. Intended receiver was Tim Brown. Tim Brown a little frustrated, thinking that Isaac Holt was pushing him. Isaac Holt really has, I guess, realized a turnaround from last year. He was really being burned quite a bit, but he's got a lot more confidence this season.
Well, he's playing very well. You know, he's kind of a guesser. A lot of old corners lose a step, but they try to guess. Here we're going to see a double move. It's man coverage. Tim Brown goes by him. Isaac wasn't guessing that time, or if he was guessing right, because he shut him out. Notice how he kind of pushed him into the boundary as they went up the field. That's the way to play that position.
Ike Holt, 8th-year player out of Alcorn State. 2nd and 10 for the Raiders from the 40. The pitch back to Dickerson. And Dickerson has the 1st down across midfield. A 13-yard run by Eric Dickerson.
Here we're getting a look at the Raiders running weak side. They've tried to come out in this ball game and come to the weak side. We're going to see Dickerson come out here, watch the stretch in the blind blocking, and have him turn it up the field. There you see the pitch to him. Now watch, they stretch 51 out. Watch him turn right up the field and attack him, cut back, lower his head, get the extra yard and the 1st down.
Opening drive of the contest. Raiders in Cowboy territory. Incomplete. Intended receiver was Willie Galt.
That was the deep out pattern. They're throwing on 1st down a lot. Willie Galt was single covered, but he was covered. Larry Brown did a nice job against him, and I think Todd Marinovich kind of threw that ball away.
Marinovich at the helm in succession. Some great quarterbacks of yesteryear for the Raiders. Ken Stabler, one of those guys, and Todd Marinovich had to be pretty honest with us. Said, fellas, I didn't know who he was. Had to watch the highlights to be impressed.
Kenny Stabler's going to love that one, huh? It's the same number, though. They just ripped the Stabler off and put the Marinovich on, and he'll do it well.
6 defensive backs in for the Cowboys on 2nd and 10 for the Raiders. Ball at the 48 of Dallas. Complete to Ethan Horton for a 1st down and a lot more.
Well, this was a big part of the Raider plan to try to match Ethan Horton up. He is the offensive left tight end, as you see on your screen here. He is going to come down and work across the field and get away from Ken Norton, the linebacker. It's man coverage, and Norton doesn't handle him at all. Watch Norton try to cover him. He's inside of him with a little shove, and boy, that's what you call wide open there. Norton lost him completely. The Raiders are off to a very dynamic offensive series inside the 20 now.
A big tight end who's got 17 catches on the season. 1st and 10. Ball at the 22. Dickerson looking for room. And Dickerson running inspired for the Raiders. A 5-yard gain by Eric Dickerson, who certainly looks a little like the Dickerson of old.
Sure does.
Tight ends, boy, that's been a real tradition here in L.A.
And that's part of the Raider philosophy. They have worked hard over the years to develop tight ends. Al Davis is a prime mover in that, and they have had some of the greats in the game.
And, of course, as you take a look at Billy Cannon, no Pro Bowl numbers there. That before the AFL-NFL merger.
Dave Casper was my favorite. He was big, and he could block, and he could catch.
Ball at the 17 of Dallas. 2nd and 5. Dickerson and Smith the backs out of the pro set. Marinovich incomplete. Willie Galt was in the vicinity. Inside the red zone has not been a very positive area for the Raiders.
Well, and this is a key down, 3rd down and about 5. They've had a lot of struggles there, but a lot of the stats come in the first 4 games. This is a different group of guys that are playing after those first 4 games of the year where they did not very many things well. Art Shell knows this is important to get off to a good start in this game. And here's the key down for that.
In his 4th year as head coach of the Raiders. 3rd and 5. Need to get to the 12. Marinovich, a flag on the play. Marinovich incomplete off the chest of Ethan Horton, but there is a flag, either holding or maybe even pass interference.
Well, that came from the side. That could very well be.
They've got 3 flags down on the field.
One in the end zone. So we've got all kinds of things. We're just going to have to wait and let them sort it out.
Jerry Austin, the referee for today.
We have 2 fouls on the defense. Illegal use of hands to the face. That penalty is declined. Defensive pass interference, number 20. First and goal on the 1.
Well, Jerry Austin sorted that one out nicely. First and goal at the 1 for the Raiders. So it's been a very impressive opening drive for the LA Raiders, who now have it at the 1 of Dallas.
Well, they've gotten the ball to Ethan Horton, which they wanted to do, and they've got Dickerson outside. Ethan Horton, we're going to see way up here at the top of the screen. It's the big man against the little man. Watch him kind of knock him around. Gets away. That's position. James, that's something you're used to being from basketball. You get that position on him, and the ball got in there, and it was pass interference on the defense.
Little spin move in there. Heavy package for the Raiders. 3 tight ends. Marcus Allen the back. Marcus Allen the ball carrier. And touchdown for the Raiders. Marcus Allen. Rushing touchdown on the season for Marcus Allen, and make it 97 on the career. Has not seen that much time, but when he's there, he's still quite effective. Jeff Jager on for the point after. Mishandled the hole there on the snap. So the Raiders still try to come up with it. Is it caught? No, it is not. Not the way that Archell drew it up.
And we've got some penalty flags. I think it's probably ineligible receivers downfield.
I would say there are a few of those downfield.
About 12 downfield.
The penalty is declined. The extra point is no good.
Jeff Gossett, if you take a look at him, he was the holder, tried to hurl the pass.
Here's a look at the touchdown. Look at the offensive line. Watch them come off. Marcus Allen really isn't touched till he gets into the end zone.
Culminating an 11-play drive that covered 83 yards.
You were on it.
Kicks it off to Dallas. And Kelvin Martin will take it 5 yards deep. Kneel down, touchback. It'll be 1st and 10 from the 20 for the Cowboys. As the Raiders take almost 5 minutes off of the clock on its opening drive to score, but do not come away with the point after.
Here's the most exciting extra point drive I've seen for a while. The ball breaks right through his hands. Now they're trying to say, hey, I don't want it, you take it. Jaeger's saying, man, I don't want this thing. Somebody else take it. Almost made a play, almost had a heck of a catch in the end zone.
Now, what do you expect from Dallas on its opening drive?
I think they want to get to Harper as quickly as they can.
1st and 10 from the 20. Aikman back to pass. And he's looking. Complete to Johnston. And Johnston takes it up. A 5-yard gain up to the 25. It'll be 2nd and 5 for the Cowboys. Troy Aikman, 4th year out of UCLA, back in familiar haunts here in Los Angeles at the helm. Mark Tuinei back after missing last week with a lower back problem.
The Dallas Cowboys believe Eric Williams, number 79, the right tackle, is going to be one of the greats. He's just had vast improvement over the last season.
Smith and Irvin, the big names, but you expect a big game from Alvin Harper.
I think they need him to catch the ball and to balance up so that Irvin isn't double covered all the time.
2nd and 5. Novacek out. Alfredo Roberts, the tight end, in. Aikman to Smith. And Smith only back to the line of scrimmage. Winston Moss read it well and tackled him. John, you're expecting a big day defensively from the Raiders. Howie Long, the man under the spotlight here today for the Raiders.
Well, he needs to push in the middle. He's going to wind up playing what amounts to nose man, and he's got to get a push up the field. Nolan Harrison and Howie Long, boy, they just have to do a good job in there for the Raiders.
You like Ricky Ellison?
Well, he's a great run defender. He's not so good on the pass. They get him out on passing down.
And it's an experienced secondary for the Raiders. 3rd and 5 for the Cowboys. Nickel package in for the Raiders. And it's complete for the first down to Kelvin Martin.
Well, we talked to Ronnie Lott before the game, and he talked how crucial 3rd down was going to be for the Raiders. He just felt like they had to get him off the field and not let him establish a rhythm. Here we're going to see the tight end Novacek come down, fake to the inside, crossover. Then they throw the ball wide to Kelvin Martin, and he's open for the first down.
Ball marked at the 40. 1st and 10 on the ground. And Smith. Awfully impressive run by Emmitt Smith. A 7-yard gain by Smith. And boy, what a nice job done by the left side of that offensive line as well.
Yeah, they knocked the Raiders off the ball. Both offensive lines, I think, are very excited and aroused about this game. I think they both realize that they are the key elements in this game. And they got off the ball well. That was a harder run than we normally see from Emmitt Smith. He wasn't looking for lanes. He was boring it up there hard and physical.
2nd and 3. Ball at the 48. Johnston in motion. Smith. 1st down for Emmitt Smith. Well, let's see where they mark it. It looked like the forward progress might have got it, but it looks like now maybe only a gain of 2. But he gets a good spot. Ricky Ellison for the tackle. Ronnie Lott was complaining as well, said we thought we stopped him short.
He agreed with me. I thought it was short, too.
As we take a look at scores, the games played earlier, Washington squeaking by Minnesota. All on field goals, the Giants 23-10 over Seattle. Barry Sanders finally breaks 100 yards for this season in a big win over Tampa. And these are games that are in progress here. 1st and 10. Ball at midfield. Aikman with time. Incomplete. Kelvin Martin. Kelvin looked to be a little tentative. We see a flag on the play in the backfield. But Johnny looked to be a little tentative as he was reaching across the middle. I think they know Ronnie Lott's nearby.
Ronnie,
illegal use of hands to the face. Number 74 of the defense. 5 yards, automatic first down.
That's Nolan Harrison, the 2nd-year player out of Indiana.
Well, they're playing a 2-deep zone, and when you throw in there, when you go in there to catch the ball, you got to know number 42 is around there. And if you don't, he's going to remind you that he is around there, verbally and physically.
Rudely. Jimmy Johnson, 4th-year head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, has control of the program, doing things his way, and it is a successful way.
They've been a dynamic organization since he's joined that team, and they're on their way to one of the really fine franchises again in this league.
4 wide receivers in on 1st and 10. Incomplete pass intended for Jay Novacek, and Winston Moss in the early going looking very good.
The Raiders are playing, as we said, a 2-deep zone. They're trying to double cover, in essence, both wide receivers. So Troy Aikman is going to have to throw the ball in the middle to the tight end, to the inside wide receiver, and the linebackers become very important. Winston Moss that time covered the tight end, knocked the ball down, and that's what they have to do. You'll see Dallas throwing in the middle a lot early in the game.
I'd say that the Raiders defense has been pretty stingy. Smith, nowhere to run that time. As a matter of fact, a loss of 1 as Eddie Anderson was in there to do the job.
Howie Long did a great job. He's the reason this play didn't go anywhere. Here's Howie Long right there. Watch him just break through the line, force Emmitt Smith wide. He comes off the block. Now he's there. Now Smith, it's over for Smith now. He's just trying to survive. And you see all the other guys come. Howie Long should get credit for that tackle. He won't, but he should get.
Well, in the coach's eyes, like yourself, he will.
And he has got the key role for the Raider defense, I think, in this game.
3rd and 11. Aikman looking for Irvin, has him complete for the first down inside the 30. Eddie Anderson on the tackle. Michael Irvin with a sure reception there.
Here we're going to see Irvin come down against McDaniel. He backs off, gives him some run. Irvin's a great in runner. See, he pushes up the field, turns in. That ball's already in the air. Great timing from Troy Aikman. It's a special receiver that'll go and catch those tough passes, 3rd and 10, when you know you're going to get hit. He didn't get hit hard that time, but he ran a great pattern. The ball was on time.
And that was an indication why he is the NFL leader in receiving yards. 1st and 10 from the 28 of LA on the ground. Smith. And Emmitt Smith ahead for maybe about 4.
That's their lead draw play or ISO play, and that's a play the Raiders have to stop. We're going to see the fullback come in motion, and basically Smith just take it up there, and then you'll see he's ready to veer anywhere he sees a hole. He sees a huge hole here. The Raider defensive linemen are up the field. Now you see here they've got a great block on Young. Now he's up the field right now. Big hole.
4:26 left in the first quarter play. Raiders on top, 6-0. Aikman, the screen, and Smith. It looks like he was pushed out of bounds at about the 22 by Aaron Wallace.
Boy, what a great throw by Aikman. Greg Townsend was out there just sniffing, kind of laying in the weeds, waiting for that one. He put it just over his head, right in Emmitt Smith's hands. Emmitt Smith didn't even break stride, and they got a good gain out of that.
And a first down. The little swing pass to Emmitt Smith worked effectively. That's one of the things Norv Turner was saying, that Aikman is doing so much better this year, not looking all the time for the big plays, taking the underneath stuff.
Taking what's given him, and that time he didn't have anything down the field, and it came off fast to his swing receiver.
1st and 10 from the 18. Aikman completes to Smith, and Smith inside the 10 to about the 9.
Again, the short passing game against zone defense. If you play zone defense and try to take the wide receivers away, there's something open in the middle quickly. Troy Aikman does a great job of just dumping the ball to Emmitt Smith. He saw that, maybe his 3rd step stepping back, boom, threw it on the 5th step, completion, 2nd and 1.
Aikman 6 of 7 for 53 yards. Brings up a 2nd and 1. Ball marked at the 9. On the ground again, Smith. And Smith looks to have it from here.
That time Ronnie Lott penetrated and almost got Emmitt Smith in the backfield. One of the great things about Smith, people seem to have him, and then he just kind of slips away from him and gets a first down. That could have been a 3-yard loss easily.
Raiders defense inside the 20 has been extremely stingy as of late.
Well, they're going to be tested here, but they have made a real turnaround defensively from the early games where they lost. Now they're not turning the ball over, but their defense is really carrying them.
Cowboys trailing by 6, 6-0, 2:23 left in the first period of play. 1st and goal, ball at the 7. Aikman decides to take it and gets back, it looks like, to the line of scrimmage, maybe a gain of 1. We'll see where they mark it. Howie Long on the tackle. That can be a frightening sight, and I'm sure Jimmy Johnson felt that as well. Howie Long coming at Aikman.
Well, I'm not sure he could see it from where he's standing, but I think what he was looking for, they were looking for Emmitt Smith on that short pass over the middle, same one they ran a few plays ago, but he wasn't there, and he didn't have anything to do with the football, so he took it up there and didn't make much, but he didn't lose anything either, and didn't throw an interception.
92,488 on hand, a sellout, largest this season in the NFL.
Here comes the blitz.
2nd and goal. Smith. Touchdown, Dallas. Emmitt Smith. 7th rushing touchdown of the season.
Well, this is the right call at the right time. This is just a draw play. Again, Howie Long's penetrating for there again. Ricky Ellison just is unable to tackle him. Nobody blocked him. Ricky Ellison is sitting in a hole and says, "You're mine." Oh, that's what Emmitt Smith does better than anybody in this game, is just slip away from him.
Then Elliott, 17 of 17, a point after, make it 18 of 18, and the Cowboys go out ahead by 1 with 1:32 left in the first period of play.
UPS for reliable on-time delivery throughout Europe and around the world. Trust UPS. and by Coors Cutter non-alcoholic brew.
The biggest stage here in Hollywood, just outside the Los Angeles Coliseum. 92,000 strong here. Cowboys on top 7-6. And the ex-Cowboy Wright from his own 6. And Alexander Wright smashed at the 20. Kenneth Gant greeted his ex-mate in rude fashion. 80 yards, 8:48 off of the clock, culminating with an Emmitt Smith 6-yard run.
Now the offensive line plays big roles in big games, and they did a great job there. You got to look at Eric Williams, who's headed for really stardom in this league with the offensive tackle.
1st and 10 from the 20. Marinovich, play action, a boot. Nearly intercepted. Good defensive play that time by Larry Brown, the young man out of TCU. Well played.
Well, we're going to see Willie Gault go up on Larry Brown. Larry Brown did not give him any respect at all that time. It was a bootleg pattern. Willie Gault had time, pushed him, but Brown hung right with him and came back and almost intercepted the ball. The Raiders will go up pretty quick here. They do not like people to crowd their wide receivers. We'll see a deep ball in the next few minutes.
Raiders went 83 yards on the opening possession to score. Did not convert on the point after trail 7-6. This is Dickerson. Across the 25. Eric Dickerson looks to be near the first down marker. We'll see where they spot it.
Here we get a look at one of the great runners in the history of this game, and the Raiders are doing a great job of getting him outside, weak side in this game. This is away from the tight end. This is where it's hard to run. Watch the fullback. Whoa, take the linebacker on Smith versus Norton. Dickerson knows how to get up the field. And watch as this game goes on, James, how he finishes runs. He is a physical runner with great speed.
Ran hard for 10 that time. 1st and 10. On the ground again. Only 1 this time. And that was Steve Smith. Will bring up a 2nd and 9. 29 seconds left and counting in the first quarter. Raiders trailing 7-6.
Well, that was as good a first quarter as you could ask. Both teams got out and did the things they wanted to do. Emmitt Smith had 6 carries on their drive and 3 receptions. The Raiders had great mixture on their drive, so we saw excellent football in this first quarter.
The Raiders, who are 0 for September, have won 3 straight in the month of October, looking to make it a perfect 4. And that's the end of the first quarter with the score. Dallas leading 7-6.
When your engine is working hardest and needs protection most, Castrol GTX is the only leading motor oil that meets the world's toughest requirements for viscosity breakdown in every grade. Fact is, the only way you can get that kind of performance from any other leading brand of oil is like this. Castrol GTX, engineered for today's smaller cars.
Try Castrol Super Clean for tough, greasy jobs. If it won't come clean with Super Clean, it won't come clean.
If you want to go places in any career, ask yourself, can I perform under pressure? Can I be counted on to get the job done? You can learn how in the Army, so when you're ready to take off, you'll know you can go far.
Autumn at McDonald's, where our new oven-baked apple pies are ready with their golden, delicious apple filling. Buy one now, and your local McDonald's will donate 25 cents to Ronald McDonald Children's Charities. It'll warm your heart.
Start of the second quarter here in Los Angeles, and this beautiful aerial shot not provided by John Robinson up on the roof, but Anheuser-Busch's aerial ambassador, Bud One Airship. And it's piloted by Corky Bellinger and Mike Hance. Back to live action. Steve Smith. And Smith takes it across the 35 to about the 37-yard line. Finally stopped by Vincent Smith, a pickup of 5 on the play.
Well, the Raiders are borrowing a page from the Dallas book now. They were working to Ethan Horton inside. Both linebackers dropped back on him. Steve Smith was free underneath him and made the catch, gets him down to 3rd down and about 4, 3.5 or 4, which is a much better place than 3rd and 8 or 9, obviously.
Dickerson out, Marcus Allen in. 3rd and 3, need to get to the 40. 3 wide receivers in for Los Angeles. Marinovich with time. Throws it far short of Willie Gault.
Here we're going to get a look at their key third down receiver, Ethan Horton, trying to work on the linebacker. He's being held and his jersey ripped. He came open late. The quarterback was already off him, and he said, "Man, you can't rip my jersey. It's the only one they give me."
Godfrey Miles doing the honors that time, grabbing him. Matter of fact, both about the same size. Kelvin Martin back to receive this Jeff Gossett punt.
Dallas loves to come, and looks like they're on a return here.
No flag on the play. Martin pushed back to his own 10. And Martin turns the corner, bumped out of bounds at about the 26. We'll call it the 27. A 53-yard punt, 17-yard return. Everything quiet around the L.A. Coliseum. To the left of the screen is the L.A. Sports Arena, but that swimming pool, John.
Well, in the 32 games, that was the swimming stadium. I don't think anybody's been in there since 32.
Everyone's inside the L.A. Coliseum. 1st and 10 for the Cowboys. Ball at the 27. Aikman, deep drop. Completes it to Novacek for the first down. Jay Novacek taking it across the 40 up to about the 44. And Novacek has led the NFC tight ends in each of the past 2 seasons in receptions, and he continues today a 17-yard pass play.
We get a look at the end zone here. You'll see the tight end coming from our left. Look at the coverage. Look at the safeties back up and open up that middle for him. Novacek turns in there wide open. They're so worried about the wide receivers, Irvin in particularly, that Novacek has a chance to have a big day.
1st and 10 Cowboys from the 44. Smith looking to turn the corner. And run out of bounds by Ronnie Lott. A smart move by Emmitt Smith. That, John, that kind of reminded me. We asked him last night, has he ever been afraid in a game of a guy or a team? And surprisingly, he didn't name the Raiders. Well, I guess it's his first go at him, or Philadelphia, but he named Atlanta.
Well, they were blitzing on him one day, and he said, we didn't have much of a passing attack that day. He said they were coming from all directions, and said that was a tough day. We showed that Emmitt Smith not only is tough, which I think he is, he's smart. He saw Ronnie Lott and said, hey, not this time.
Getting out of bounds. A pickup of 4 by Emmitt Smith brings up a 2nd and 6. 12:50 left in the first half of play. Cowboys on top by 1, 7-6. Aikman just got rid of it as Nolan Harrison all on top of him with the quarterback pressure.
Well, that's the inside push. We're going to see Harrison come. He's going to be the right defensive tackle, as we see here. Watch the push he gets, and watch how he forces Aikman to throw, kind of off his back foot. He's up. He's got the win against Nate Newton right now, throwing off his back foot. I don't think he saw anything. He just kind of threw that one away.
Nice swim move that time by Harrison.
Look at him to go inside to Kelvin Martin with the tight end.
Cowboys 2 of 2, 3rd down conversion. Aikman decides to run it, and he's not going to make it. He's going to be about a half a yard shy.
Well, that time Aikman was going to the tight end, Novacek, the whole way. Anthony Bell had him man-to-man and did a great job on him because he was looking for him. Finally had to run and came up a yard short. Anthony Bell gets a lot of credit for that one.
So 3 and out for Aikman and the Cowboys, and Mike Saxon comes on for the first punt of the afternoon for Jimmy Johnson's Cowboys. Tim Brown back near his own 12 for the Raiders. Timmy Brown out of Dallas, Texas himself. A lot of family and friends back home watching him. It's kicked away from Brown. He takes it at the 10. So it'll be Raiders ball after that 34-yard punt, 7-yard return.
Well, look who's here.
Morning, Dennis.
Looks like you did all right.
Yeah, not bad.
We need 6 good ones for tonight.
Your brother's coming.
Better make it 8.
Hey, look at that lobster.
Don't worry, Scott. We got a couple for you.
Everybody gets some pork. This dinner doesn't need a thing.
Wait, it gets better.
Chardonnay.
Has the lobster ever tasted this good?
It's the time of year.
No, it's the wine.
Ernest and Julio Gallo present a very special Chardonnay. It's time for a change to Gallo.
The Postal Service would like to present 2-day priority mail. That's delivery in just 2 days of up to 2 pounds for just $2.90. Remember, 2 days, 2 pounds, $2.90. 2-day priority mail from your Postal Service.
We deliver for you.
For pickup service, call 1-800-222-1811.
Imagine a rent-a-car company that offers special delivery right to your door. That's Enterprise.
Here, let me help you.
Enterprise, a special rent-a-car company that gives you special delivery.
Need a fresh start? Get the battery that's proven to start over 50,000 times. Motorcraft. Motorcraft quality parts from Ford.
Good ball game here in L.A. Cowboys on top by 1-7-6 here in the second quarter of play. James Brown along with John Robinson. And, John, going back to the top of the show and the theme, the boxer-slugger bit, it seems to be a pretty even match thus far.
It really is, and both teams are using the weapons they have. I think both secondaries are trying to take the wide receivers away. So the tight ends, the running backs, the fullbacks are going to catch a lot of balls if that continues. I think it's an outstanding game so far, and both quarterbacks are going to play a big role if they can throw the ball underneath the zone coverage.
Art Shell had been talking about how his offensive line would have to do a better job of blocking and holding blocks. Thus far, very impressive. 1st and 10 for the Raiders. On the ground, Dickerson and Eric Dickerson moving the pile ahead for about 4. And John, Art Shell has to be pleased with the way Dickerson is running. He's got that nice lopey move, seems to be quite excited today.
Well, I think what Art's pleased about are the guys in front of Eric. They're blocking for him. As you see, that time that was just a run into the middle and wound up with 4.5 yards. And that's when the great runner gets a chance to be a great runner, when he, early in the ball game, can make consistent gains. Eric's off to a good start, may have a great game.
2nd and 6. On the ground again. No happenings that time, as Dickerson is wrapped up by Jim Jeffcoat, 10th-year veteran out of Arizona State, and he is playing well in a reserve capacity, if you will.
Well, here we see him as the right defensive end. He doesn't get blocked in this particular play. Watch him come in, and, well, it's kind of blocked. I think Steve Smith didn't think he would pinch on him. He came inside the block. The runner had no chance that time. That's not a normal move for the tackle on that side, and he came right inside of Steve Smith's block. That's one that he's got over Steve Smith.
3rd and 5. Flag on the play as Anthony Smith looks to be far too soon, or make that Charles Haley.
Charles Haley so anxious to get a sack. You know, since he's joined this team, he has been a big factor, but he hasn't gotten sacks.
Offside, number 94 of the defense, 5 yards, repeat 3rd down.
This is Haley versus McElroy here. He's going to come off the football early. McElroy doesn't have much chance. That's where you just kind of got to tackle him. It's a good thing that Eric Dickerson stood in there and got a piece of him so he wouldn't have one of those killer shots on the quarterback. But that's offside, and now it puts him 3rd down and 1.
And don't think that Todd Marinovich isn't happy about Dickerson being there.
Absolutely. That's what friends are for.
3rd and 1. Heavy package in for the Raiders. 3 tight ends. On the ground. I've got to see the spot on this one as Steve Smith.
It's one of the crucial calls in football and one of the most subjective calls in football. They're going to have to measure for it. You know, you give the ball to the big back going in there, Steve Smith, a 245-pounder, and sometimes they don't do as well as the little guy who kind of makes you miss in there. Somebody got a straight hit on Steve Smith and knocked him back.
By that much.
Robert Jones was the man that really made a good hit. Here we got to look. It's the thing has already started, but we're going to see Jones. We were going to see Jones right there, but we missed him. But he stepped up and stopped Steve Smith. Here we're going to get a look at Jones this time. Now he's just going to step right up in there. He doesn't get blocked, and he makes a great play. Watch him step, boom, right there. He goes right through Dickerson. That time Dickerson was the blocker and Steve Smith was the ball carrier. I'm not sure that's the right order.
Gossett on to punt for the Raiders. Kelvin Martin back for Dallas from the 27. And Martin skips out of bounds at about the 34. So it'll be Dallas ball when we come back. A 48-yard punt, 7-yard return, 9:38 left in the half.
Shaving would be simple, and any razor would do, if your face was square. But your face has curves. Presenting the revolutionary Schick Tracer, the only razor with twin blades that flex. Compared to other razors, Schick Tracer puts more of the blade edge against your skin. So, for real faces, like yours, Schick Tracer, we're changing the face of shaving.
If you depend on your truck to last, here's news you should never forget. Of all the Chevy trucks built in the last 10 years, over 98% are still going strong. That's more than Ford, more than Toyota, more than Nissan. Over the years, no other truck is that dependable, foreign or domestic. Only Chevrolet, the most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road.
Wouldn't it be great if you could afford a luxurious mansion? For you and all your friends? Of course, the place needed some updates, like a bowling alley and a pool table. Naturally, you'd have an open house. Food, dear! With beer! Harold, do something! Icy, cold-filtered Keystone, Keystone Light, and Keystone Dry. Bottle beer chased in a can. Now, wouldn't that be great?
It's the story of Di and Fergie. They lived a fairy tale that became a shattered dream.
I'm entitled to have a life of my own.
The Women of Windsor, tonight after 60 Minutes.
The Raiders have come a long way from September when they were 0-4, won 3 straight here in October, but still, every game from this point forward, a must.
They need this win, and every Raider knows it, and they're all going to respond and play as good a football game as they can.
First and 10 for Dallas from the 33. On the ground, Smith. And Smith getting some nice blocking, finally tackled by Ronnie Lott, a gain of 7. Now, John, I was asking you, Smith doesn't look to be all that fast as we take a look at the AFC West standings. The Raiders 3-4, and again, still need victories in order to be a factor in this race.
They're not too far behind, and they get both Denver and Kansas City at home, so a win today is a most important result for the Raiders.
I was mentioning Emmitt Smith, 8 carries for 32 yards. Brings up a 2nd and 3, and back on the ground to Smith again, and a first down. And John, again, I guess you can talk about Emmitt Smith at any point in time. He doesn't look to be all that fast, but what is it that he does so effectively in traffic?
Here's a look. This is what makes him such a great player. He's going to bring the ball weak side, but watch his moves in this area here as we clear it. And now get a look. Now watch him start there. Watch the feet now widen. Boom. Up through that hole. Makes another guy miss. Now finishes the run with a lurch forward for about 4 yards. That's what great runners do. And those are the things that make runners great, when they can run in crowds and get yards.
Rarely takes a hit direct on. Aikman back on first down. And loses the ball. Fumble. And it looks like the Cowboys recovered it. Darrell Johnston alertly, the fullback, on top of it.
Here we see it at ground level. Aikman just doesn't have anybody. This is about the third time now that the Raiders have covered the people he's looking for. Looking at him, look at our camera. There's nobody there. His second target is not. He's starting to run. He's still looking, and gets hit by Howie Long, who, again, we believe plays one of the key roles in this game. Fortunately, the ball got back to him.
Second and 10. Aikman. A little miscommunication there as Alvin Harper saying, wait a minute, I'm doing an in pattern, you're throwing it as an out.
Well, I think it was Ricky Ellison that got in the way of that. He got in the line of sight of Troy Aikman, and I think Aikman figured that he couldn't get it inside of him, so he pretty much threw it away.
Now, I mentioned before, Ricky Ellison is a guy you've been speaking a lot about, and talking about speaking, Jay Schrader talking to Todd Marinovich. Jay Schrader has really handled his quote-unquote demotion, if you will, with a lot of professionalism.
He really has. He's showed what poise he has, helping the young guy there, and that's a sign of class. It's a sign of a great team ethic, too.
Third and 10 from the 48. Need to get to the 42. Overthrows the intended receiver, Alvin Harper.
Terry McDaniel is one of the better corners in this league. They figure they have to get the ball to Alvin Harper. Terry McDaniel just ate him up that time. He was with him stride for stride. There was no place to put the ball. Troy Aikman gave it a glimmer of hope by throwing it right against the sideline. But that one is a win for that guy.
Mike Saxon on for his second punt of the afternoon for the Cowboys. Tim Brown back around his own 11. And it takes a Cowboys bounce and is down at about the 3. A 49-yard punt by Mike Saxon. Timmy Brown thinking that it would roll into the end zone. Did not.
In 1993, you'll have over 500 new car models to choose from. And you can be pretty sure that most of them will cost more than they did last year. But this one won't. The Lumina Euro Sedan from Chevrolet. You'll find the features you're looking for, but you won't find a higher number on the sticker. This year's Lumina, last year's prices. Pretty ingenious, huh? What else would you expect from the heartbeat of America?
Today, for the first time in half a century, America is not at war. And America's wartime economy is changing to a peacetime economy. But that change has brought fear and uncertainty. The fear of losing a job, of losing a home, the uncertainty of tougher economic competition from around the world. But with change comes opportunity. And my agenda for American renewal can be the bridge to the future.
Plays in the game so far. Mike Saxon does a great job of punting. Tim Brown is taught not to go deeper than the 10-yard line. That ball lands on the 3. Tim Brown isn't going to fair catch anything inside the 10. That looks like a Lee Trevino 9-iron shot right there. And there's Joe Albazano, who's taking credit for said, I taught that guy everything. Right? That's what special teams coaches do, because they sure get the blame when it goes wrong.
First and 10 from the 3 on the ground, and Steve Smith running ahead for a couple of yards. So, John, again, to go back to that point, Tim Brown made the right decision then in letting the ball go.
Oh, absolutely. He just was unlucky, and that was a great punt by Mike Saxon. But the punt receiver is taught never to fair catch a ball inside the 10. This is so difficult here. The chances of driving 96 or 7 yards for a touchdown are probably 1 in 90 or something like that. They're way up there. So what the Raiders have to do is just try to get maybe 1 first down, 2 first downs, get room to punt the ball. Look for Marcus Allen coming out of the backfield here. He's in the game at tailback.
Ball at the 5, 2nd and 8. Marinovich back to pass. With time. Launching it, looking for Allen. Incomplete. And is there a flag on the play? There is a flag. Back at about the 15. Isaac Holt was right there on the coverage.
It's going to be a hold against Ethan Horton. That matchup between the linebacker and Horton that time.
Holding, number 51, defense, 5 yards, first down.
There it is. That's Norton versus Horton, and they got him that time. Remember, we showed an isolation of a little while ago of those two guys coming together. That's going to be a matchup. That time you saw Marcus Allen did come out of the backfield, was the primary receiver. Dallas double covered him, so it leaves one-on-one, a good tight end against a linebacker. Tight end's going to win that battle a lot of times or force the linebacker to hold him.
1st and 10 for the Raiders. Ball at the 10, 6:26 left in the first half of play. Raiders trailing by 1. Marcus Allen makes something out of it as he picks up 4.
Well, that's an off-tackle play. They pull the backside guard. Marcus is looking for a place. The good runner loves to get outside. Allen and Dickerson both are guys that like it outside, trying to find a lane. Notice as this game, we're seeing 3 of the best runners in the NFL. Emmitt Smith, Marcus Allen, Eric Dickerson, all of them finish runs with a little burst at the end. All of them get that extra 2 and 3 yards. It really adds up as the game goes on.
And 2 out of the 3 runners, other than Smith, of course, you've had a hand in help to make good runners or great runners. On 2nd down, complete for the 1st down. Nice pass from Marinovich to Andrew Glover.
That's the other tight end, and as we said, this is going to be the tight end on the left as we look at this film here. Watch him release, come up the field. Again, we're going to see linebackers working on him. There's the inside linebacker trying to cover him. Glover goes down, pushes off him, comes back to the football. Ball's on the money. Excellent throw by Todd Marinovich. That's one of the things that Todd does really well, and I think will become truly great at that in time. The short, accurate pass.
And also pays that Glover is his best friend. Allen on the pitch. And Marcus Allen up to about the 28-yard line. A 4-yard gain by Marcus Allen. Now, I mentioned that you coach both Allen and Dickerson. You've had a hand with a number of players in this game. Lott, Ronnie Lott, Allen, Dickerson, Ellison, Don Mosbar. My goodness, John, you've had a big hand in these careers.
Well, those are the kind of guys that make you look like a good coach. Some of the great players and some of the great people. You know, we had a chance to talk to most of them, and it's a thrill just being around those kind of men. And it's one of the great memories of my life being associated with them.
2nd and 6. Going up top, looking for Galt, and overthrows Willie Galt, and that may be a little tough to do, but Marinovich, knowing that he maybe should have taken just a bit off of it, lofted a bit more.
Well, he doesn't have that strong an arm, and I think when he's got to throw it with everything he's got.
Live here from the L.A. Coliseum, 92,488. First sellout of the season for the Raiders on hand, as the Raiders trail the Dallas Cowboys 7-6. James Brown along with ex-Rams coach John Robinson. And John, also you coached here at USC, so you're very familiar with the stadium. You were awfully pumped up coming in here.
Well, it's the most beautiful sight in the world to see this stadium sold out, 92,000 people. Very impressive, very exciting game.
3rd and 6. Marinovich throws it incomplete. Intended receiver was Ethan Horton, but there is a flag down on the far side of the field.
This time it's again holding on the against the defensive secondary or pass interference. This time it's Gant.
Holding number 28 of the defense. 5 yards, automatic 1st down.
That was Woodson instead of Gant. It's hard to handle those big tight ends that can move. Here we get a look at.
Oh my goodness!
That's a bit of a wrestling match right there. I'm not sure who's doing what to who. Umpire or the referee saw that late in the thing. Again, that's probably more pass and offensive pass interference. And that's what Jimmy's saying.
He's saying the same thing.
Hey, I saw the whole thing. When you're a coach, you see everything, right?
And probably said it was within the 5 yards allowed. Marinovich back to pass, going up top again. Just beyond the outstretched hands of Willie Galt. Didn't work the first time. Galt said, hey, let's try it again. Just about there. Well, somebody who is there in New York for an update, Greg Gumbel.
All right, James, at Minnesota, here's how the Vikings beat the Redskins. 1:09 to play. Chip Lohmiller's 5th field goal of the day, a 49-yarder, 15-13. The Redskins win it. We'll have all the highlights coming up at halftime. JB?
All right, Greg, and boy, Tony Dungy's defense still doing the job there in the dome. Redskins did not score a touchdown. Greg and Terry will have all the highlights and action for you back in New York at halftime. Marinovich. And Todd Marinovich tackled from behind. Leon Lett, Jimmy Jones. And you can see him limping just a little bit. A pickup of 4 will bring up a 3rd and 6 for the Raiders.
Well, that time he didn't have anybody open. You know, you talk about third down backs. Marcus Allen is one of the best because he not only is a great receiver, he can stay in and block. That time he gave extra help on them against Jeff Coat coming from the outside. And the blocker, runner, receiver, the all-around back is the most valuable kind of player you can have.
3rd and 6, Raiders 0 for 2 on third down conversion. Marinovich complete for the first down. Nope. Dropped by Brown, and there is a flag on the near side, 32. Brown had it for a second, but dropped it.
Holding on the offense. Penalty is declined. 4th down.
So Jerry spared the embarrassment for whatever player by not identifying him.
This game started out, looked like it was going to be a great offensive show, and now the defenses have risen and really slowed things down, and we've had a series of punts now in the second quarter. The first quarter was all offense, and the second quarter has been pretty much all defense.
Both teams statistically doing well on the season defensively.
Look for Dallas to come.
Martin. They're catching it, and it'll be spotted at the 9. A 53-yard punt by Gossett.
This is an all-out rush now. Gossett gets the ball off. They have a quick snap. That's just kind of falling over each other. That's an Academy Award.
Couldn't be more appropriate here in Southern Cal. Smith takes it ahead. 2:54 and counting left in the first half. And you know what? We do get special treatment here. Nice job here. Bob Monsbach, our producer, cannot claim credit for that. This is the third man in the booth. Been a pretty solid one thus far, though.
And he is, if he's a fan of defense, but he looks like a defensive pumpkin there, doesn't he?
No teeth, huh?
Yeah, definitely a defensive
or
pumpkin.
very
He's starting
few.
to get happy now.
Smith again. And Smith somehow making a little out of nothing. Ricky Ellison on the stop, a gain of 4, and it looks to be enough for the first down. John, you talk so much about the feet of Emmitt Smith, helping him to make these shifty moves.
Well, he's always on balance, and you watch as this game goes on how many times his feet are just spread a little bit. He's kind of in a semi-crouch position, and his eyes wide open, seeing things. And when he sees something, boom, he can get to that place. That time that was, as you said, a bad play that he made a first down out of.
And I'm sure he's glad to take the break, as we will, with the 2-minute mark here in the first half. Ball game, 2 minutes left in the first half, and John, the thinking here, both teams with 3 timeouts remaining.
Well, Norv Turner, the offensive coordinator for Dallas, I'm sure is thinking, let's get a couple more first downs. You don't want to risk putting the ball up too much in the middle in this area. If he can get a couple first downs, use one of the timeouts, then they can go in and think field goal or touchdown.
Out of the eye, Irvin to the near side, Hopper to the far side. 1st and 10. On the ground, play action. Aikman throws it incomplete, threw it in the direction of Darrell Johnston. And we get a report from the sideline that Andre Bruce for the Raiders has a hyperextended knee, but is expected to return.
Here's a look at Norv Turner up in the press box, the offensive coordinator, who's done just a brilliant job. He's the man on the left with his hand near his throat there saying, I got to find a way to get a first down. He has been just one of the key factors in the rebuilding of this franchise. Now I think he would like to find a pass that'll get him a first down. He's going to play a card, you know.
Playing it smart, you're right, keeping it on the ground in the hands of Emmitt Smith, who takes it up to the 30 for a gain of 9.
Again, the call that you didn't expect. That time they were thinking pass. Emmitt Smith has made a lot of yards in the middle. He has not done a lot outside, but coming down the middle on the Raiders, I think he's found some lanes and made some plays.
12 carries for 61 yards in the first half for Emmitt Smith, who's done quite well on grass, averaging over 100 yards per game his last 5 on grass. 120 left in the first half. And the first down by Emmitt Smith, still on his feet. Emmitt Smith, what an outstanding run by Smith. Winston Moss finally pushing him out of bounds.
That is a great run. We're going to get a look here. We'll look at Ricky Ellison and the fullback. Look at the collision that is coming between those two, and watch Emmitt Smith. Look, Ellison steps up in there. Actually, it's the outside linebacker, Vince Moss, that gets the hit on with Johnson, and look at the run. Boy, is he hard to tackle.
Yes, indeed. And you know, Jimmy Johnson told us last night, Ronnie Lott actually delivered the first shot. He said the Raiders would try to hit him hard. Smith would make him miss and pick up some big yards. He did that time. 13 to be exact. First and 10. Aikman complete to Harper. And Harper has the first down.
Well, now the Raiders are in a little bit of trouble now. The ball has come over the 50-yard line. Now you see Dallas in a 2-minute drill. They've used one of their timeouts. Notice how Norv Turner was cautious with the ball deep in the territory. Got 2 good runs from Emmitt Smith that gave him breathing room. Now we'll see Dallas try to go in and get 6. They've got a full minute with 2 timeouts left, so things look good for Dallas to try to get some points here.
Coming up on the NFL Today halftime report, Greg and Terry will have all the scores and highlights from today's NFL action, including that exciting big game up first, which was Minnesota and Washington. Washington had to pull it out in the closing minutes on a field goal by Chip Lohmiller. Lohmiller back home in Minnesota, looking to do well in front of the hometown crowd, and he did, obviously. Jimmy Johnson right now looking at his squad in Raider territory with 1:02 left in the first half. Cowboys on top 7-6.
Michael Irvin now is the key player for the Cowboys. He's the guy that makes the big plays.
Ball at the 44 of the Raiders. First and 10 Cowboys. Aikman looking for Alvin Harper again. Incomplete. Harper had his fingers on it. Terry McDaniel defending. And again, we knew that Alvin Harper was a guy the Cowboys were looking to get more involved.
Well, they got him involved just the play before with his first catch for a while. They came to him. Yeah, I was a little surprised they had man coverage that time. Michael Irvin had Washington one-on-one, and they didn't think to him. They were thinking strong side. I think they thought automatically that Michael would be double covered. So we may see them come back to him. But don't be surprised if we see a draw play here with that great young tailback carrying the ball.
Harper to the far side. Irvin to the near side. 2nd and 10. Sack. Give the credit to Howie Long. 4.5 sacks on the season for Howie Long.
We talked about Howie Long having to put pressure in the middle. Here he is. Here we see him on the center, coming again, fighting through there. That's just power, determination, right to the quarterback. That's what the Raiders needed. Pressure up the middle against the short drop that Troy Aikman tends to take. Got in his face. There was no place to go but down.
Art Shell has seen the Cowboys take their 2nd timeout, leaving 1 for Dallas. Shell's Raiders have all 3 remaining. 51 seconds left in the contest. You rarely see Art Shell very demonstrative on the sidelines, but clearly the players know what the game plan is, and he doesn't need to say much.
Well, what he does is set an ethic for this football team, sets a standard. Everybody looks at him and says, there's a guy in the Hall of Fame. You know, it wouldn't be too bad looking at your head coach who's in the Hall of Fame, looking at your owner who's in the Hall of Fame. Pretty good ethic established by that football team. I think Dallas has to be thinking we've got to find a way to get Michael Irvin the ball. He is just too good a player to be not involved in this part of the game.
3rd and 13 for the Cowboys. Aikman sacked. Give the credit to Aaron Wallace. second sack of the season for Wallace.
Wallace comes to the outside, lines up outside the defensive end. Here you see him. Mark Tuinei is going to step out to block him. They're a little uncertain about the pass block, and Tuinei is off slow. Wallace is by him and has the sack. I think part of that was the call. I think it confused the Dallas offensive line. Gunther Cunningham, the defensive signal caller for the Raiders, made an excellent call, got the sack, prevented points.
And the Raiders called timeout, leaving them with 2. And don't forget, at halftime, Greg and Terry scores and highlights from around the NFL. Aaron Wallace out of Texas A&M, third-year player. I'm sure he's got some folks back in the Texas area who are smiling along with him right now.
Aaron Wallace is not a blitzer on this team. His role is to operate in coverage, and you don't get on the TV when you're in coverage. But when you get a sack, boy, everybody knows who you are.
Mike Saxon leads the NFC in punting. Tim Brown fields it at the 21. And Timmy Brown takes it up to about the 39. A big play man he is, Timmy Brown, with 34 seconds left in the first half, and the Raiders will have the ball at the 39.
Well, that was a short punt and not very high. Tim Brown does a nice job of coming up and catching it and attacking this defense. Comes right up at the teeth of the defense, puts them in great field position. That's an outstanding run at a particularly crucial time in this game. Now the Raiders can come at them with 3 timeouts, 34 seconds. They got a chance to catch a ball, couple balls in the middle, and get a first down. And a chance at a field goal.
Tim Brown and Mervyn Fernandez to the near side. Marinovich. And Allen drops the screen pass. 29 seconds left in the first half. As we take a look at Jeff Jager, he has a long of 54 this year, that coming against the Giants.
Well, they've got to move the football about 25 yards. They don't have a lot of time. They've got to throw the ball down the field to get that done. Screen pass was a nice idea on first down to get part of it, but with 29 seconds left, 1 timeout, they've got to find something in the middle or a comeback on the outside to one of the wide receivers.
2nd and 10. And Jeff Coates should get credit for it. A loss of 7 on the play. So Jim Jeffcoat is going to get credited with a tackle as Marinovich drops the ball but recovers it.
Here we're going to see Jeffcoat coming up the field. He just goes by Wilkerson. He's by him. Sack's coming now. Knocks the ball right out of Todd Marinovich's hands, and that ends that drive. The big story in the 2-minute drives have been pass rush. One by Wallace and one by Jeffcoat. They kind of stuffed out 2 potential point-scoring drives.
The first quarter was offense, second quarter's defense. Now that's the end of the first half with the score. The Dallas Cowboys 7, the Raiders 6. Greg and Terry up next.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by the Heartbeat of America, Chevrolet, and your local Chevy dealer. Florsheim ComfortTech shoes. Try a pair and get comfortable. And by HP LaserJet printers. If it isn't a jet, it's only a laser printer.
This is Dallas, Texas, where our greatest asset is our people. Hi, I'm Troy Aikman of the Dallas Cowboys. Over the years, I've been a United Way volunteer. But this year, I want to do more. Because just like the Cowboys, United Way has a whole new game plan. And I want us all to be a part of that winning team for United Way. This is the Infant Intervention Center. It's just one of the more than 100 agencies and programs helping people in Dallas. Sometimes it takes the biggest and the strongest among us to help the smallest, most needy among us. United Way is too important to turn our backs on because these children and all of us may need help at one time in our lives. And United Way will be there, but only if you care, only if we all give. This program is giving these little people hope and a dream. You keep that dream alive here in Dallas when you support our United Way. Now more than ever, the United Way.
Your local United Way, helping where help is needed most.
This message furnished by the National Football League.
In 1991, excessive celebrating after touchdowns was banned. Fortunately, we don't play by their rules. Introducing Touchdown, the new instant game from the Texas Lottery. Just scratch off your score, their score, and the prize amount. If your score's higher, you can win up to $500. If it's not, you get a second chance to win. Well, maybe it should be banned. Touchdown from the Texas Lottery, the quickest way to the payoff.
So, one test drive looks pretty much like another, huh? When you test drive the tough 93 Nissan compact pickup, you'll find all the incredible features you ever wanted, all at an incredible value. J.D. Power & Associates even ranked it the best compact pickup in customer satisfaction. Now save up to $1,600. Just get to your Nissan dealer by November 3rd. Nissan, it's time to expect more from a truck.
The law has to serve everyone, not just the privileged few. I'm Officer Mark Clark, representing thousands of law enforcement officers throughout the state of Texas. We're urging you to vote for Oscar Mallsey. Judge Mallsey has always fought against entrenched power. Oscar Mallsey is a judge we count on. Former political consultant and insurance PAC candidate Craig Enoch may have broken the law. Our courts can't lose any more respect. Law enforcement officers need Oscar Mallsey on the Texas Supreme Court.
The NFL Today Doctors Halftime Report is sponsored by Levi's Dockers. Nobody does color like Dockers.
Hello, everyone. Greg Gumbel along with Terry Bradshaw. Welcome. It's halftime, and the Cowboys are leading the Raiders by 1, 7-6. A missed extra point is the only difference in this game. Meanwhile, halftime in Miami, neither Jeff George nor Dan Marino have thrown a touchdown pass. A couple of TD runs. The Colts and the Dolphins are tied at 7. That's the score in San Diego as well. The Broncos and the Chargers, as they approach halftime at Jack Murphy Stadium, they're tied at 7. John Elway has thrown a touchdown pass, and so has Stan Humphries. New England, the Patriots, frustrated by that Brown defense, which now has not allowed a touchdown in 14 straight quarters. 9-0. The Browns lead it on 3 Matt Stover field goals. Now, action earlier today will begin at the Metrodome, where the Vikings fell to the Washington Redskins. 15-13 was the final score. Joe Gibbs says, woo, woo, woo. And then Terry Allen goes in from a yard out.
Woo, woo, ha. Terry Allen over left tackle to
Chip Lowmiller kicked 5 field goals, his 5th from 49 yards out with 1:09 left. Leslie Visser talked to him after the game.
Chip Lowmiller, you went to high school, you went to college here, 5 field goals today.
Yeah, it was a great feeling to come back, and you know, we knew Minnesota was going to give us a tough run for our money, and I just wanted to come in here and show everybody we can win here and just spoil their fun.
Redskins have now won 3 straight. Their record is 5-2. The Vikings fall to 5-2. The Eagles at home today won just barely against the Phoenix Cardinals, 7-3 Philly. The final score. Randall Cunningham put the game's only TD on the board.
Both teams are rotating to Barnett, the other receiver, and you'll see Williams on the right side as Cunningham scrambles. The entire secondary rotated to Barnett. Cunningham finds Williams. He gets the touchdown.
Chris Chandler of the Cardinals knocked out of action in the game today. He's intercepted by Seth Joyner here, who returns, helped cement the victory. Meanwhile, after the game, Reggie White of the Eagles was one upset lineman.
You know, I'm very happy with the win, but I'm very discouraged right now with the referees because it's happening every week. I know I'm subjected to get fined, but I don't care because, you know, there'd be no way that Reggie White would ever make big plays again with the holding and the things of that nature that's being called. And I hate to be one to sound like I'm complaining, but I've been in the league 8 years, and it's happening every year.
Eagle defense made the difference in this one, stopping the Cardinals 7 consecutive times inside the 3-yard line. At the Meadowlands, the New York Giants chalk up their 3rd win of the year. They beat Seattle 23-10. Coach Ray Handley under the gun here in New York. Jeff Hostetler, a 7-yard touchdown run to put the Giants up by a score of 13-10. And after the game, Ray says, well, maybe all this turmoil isn't all bad.
Most circus-like weeks around here have often turned out to be victories for us because 2 of the last 3 weeks have been like that. And so now my job, I guess, is to create a circus-like atmosphere for next week. Okay?
23-10 the final score. The Seahawks fall to 1-7. At Lambeau Field in Green Bay, the Bears go to 4-3 with a 30-10 win over the Packers. Here's the old fake punt. Chris Gardocki finds Mark Green for 43 yards. Now, as if the gainer wasn't big enough, watch the extra yardage will be tacked on because of a late hit by the Packers. The Packers didn't help themselves. Jim Harbaugh helped himself, though, on this play.
Good job. Play action's always great down inside the 10, especially if you have a quarterback that can run with the football. Harbaugh can. He finds tight end Jennings for the touchdown.
Now, on this goal line play, watch Green Bay's number 91, Brian Noble, right at the lower right. You see his head snap back. He suffered a neck injury here. He was wheeled off the field on a stretcher and taken to a local hospital. He had lost the feeling on one side of his body, but the hospital reports now say that Brian Noble does have feeling in his arms and legs. He is still undergoing tests, but at least the signs are positive for Brian Noble. The Bears over the Packers, 30-10. Final in Tampa, the Lions over Tampa Bay, 38-7. Big day for Barry Sanders, 122 yards and 2 touchdowns. Rodney Peete threw 3 touchdown passes, only the Lions' second victory of the season. And the Houston Oilers at home knocked off the Bengals, 26-10. Warren Moon, a good day, his 35th 300-yard passing game of his career. And the NFL Today continues here on CBS after this from your local station.
One small town with a big city problem.
Somebody give it to you free?
He had almost 4 grams of cocaine. New on CBS in the heat of the night, Wednesday.
On a special Monday picket fences, some say it was...
Welcome back, everyone. Let's update you on one score. The Cleveland lead over New England is now 9-7. That defensive streak by the Browns, they had not allowed a touchdown in 14 quarters. The Patriots cracked that with a Hugh Millen to Kevin Turner 19-yard touchdown, but it's 9-7 Cleveland as they approach halftime. Our score in the L.A. Coliseum, the Cowboys leading the Raiders 7-6. Let's send it back to Los Angeles and rejoin James Brown and John Robinson. Take it away, JB.
All right, Greg, thank you very much. And keeping with John's boxing metaphor, the first half has been a real slugfest here in the first half. The Cowboys leading it 7-6. And, John, I guess the only miscue that really could come back to haunt the Raiders, that missed point after it's a 7-6 ball game.
It really has been the only error. Both teams came out just wide open offensively and had long drives for scores. The missed extra point by the Raiders is going to haunt them maybe as this game goes on. But then the defenses both played very well in the second quarter. I think the offenses kept trying and tried to make plays, but the defenses made the key plays in the key set of circumstances, and we have a very close 7-6 game.
We talked about the running game at the top of the show. Emmitt Smith certainly has done the job. As you take a look at his numbers, he single-handedly has bested the Raiders, but the Raiders, again, do it by committee.
Well, Eric Dickerson and Marcus Allen both got off to good starts, I felt, but kind of got slowed down in the second quarter. Emmitt Smith continues to amaze me the way he can make a 2-yard gain into about an 8 or 9 yard gain, and they'll come back to him a lot in the second half.
From a quarterback perspective, Troy Aikman certainly has the better statistics in the first half. Marinovich, not a very good first half statistically.
Well, neither team is able to get the ball to the wide receivers so far, so I think the key issue in the second half is they got to get the wide receivers back in the ball game. They've got to have mixture between the run and the pass, and I think that's the key for both teams.
All right, and both teams scored on their opening respective drives. The Raiders did it first, going down the field 83 yards and coming up with a touchdown.
Well, here we see the Raider offensive line come off the ball. Marcus Allen just kind of walks into the end zone. I'm sure he thought it was harder than a walk, but he got into the end zone relatively easy. Here's the missed extra point that right now is the difference in this game. Both these teams are good special teams-wise, not so good here. Now we've got the punter and the kicker messing around with the football, and you know that's bad news when those two guys got the ball and they missed the extra point. That's the difference so far in this game.
All right, and we'll see how the boxing match here in Los Angeles turns out in the second half when we come back for the start of the third quarter. It was like you were going out there to coach yourself, being back in a familiar surrounding here.
Well, it's, you know, and we've had some great games when I was at SC, sold out, same atmosphere, the same energy, and this is one of the great stadiums in history. More great athletes have performed in this stadium, probably any other stadium anywhere in the world. When you think of the Olympic Games, baseball with the Dodgers here, USC, UCLA, Raiders.
And we're back underway for the second half of action here.